Hi there! Have you ever wondered what gives your favorite bottle of wine its distinctive flavor profile? Well, it's time to dig deep into the earth and uncover the deep secrets of the soils. But beware, because what we uncover may shock you, because it's all about the dirt on wine soils. From limestone to granite and volcanic ash, we'll be exploring all the different soils that give wines that extra magic that we just simply can't put our finger on. So grab a glass of your favorite vintage, put on your soil overalls, and let's start digging. Now, when it comes to vineyards, soils can make all the difference in the world. Well, some vineyards are lucky to have rich, fertile soils, just like how some of us are born into rich, loving families. Others have to make do with less nutrient-packed soils. But in the world of wines, everything is fair because it's actually quite the opposite. The crappier the soils, the better the quality of the wines usually are. The vines want to struggle and suffer and fight for every drop of nutrient and water that they can get. It's like they're auditioning for Survivor, the Vineyard Edition. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. Some vineyards, like those in Barossa Valley, have heavy clay-based soils that hold on to moisture so tightly, like a teenager clutching on their mobile phones. And you know what? It works for them because the Barossa Valley has a very hot and dry climate that would make even a cactus thirsty. So the moisture-retaining soils are a godsend for the vines. Plus, the region is known for its old vine Shiraz grapes, which are like the Gandalfs of the grape world. Wise, ancient, and simply delicious. Gravel soils, which are scattered throughout many wine regions across the world, are like the little black dress which never goes out of fashion. From Graves in Bordeaux to Clos de Vougeot in Burgundy, these soils are renowned for their excellent drainage, heat retention, and ability to stress vines, all of which lead to concentrated grapes which are jam-packed, full of aromas and flavors. Some of these gravel soils even have fancy names such as galettes and Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which are large rounded stones that act like heat sponges, creating cozy microclimates that help ripen the grapes. Although it's not easy to cultivate these soils, it's simply worthwhile the scrumptious Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdres that simply thrive in them. And if you ever see GSM on wine labels, no, it has nothing to do with mobile phone networks or glucosamine chondroitin. It simply stands for Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdres blends. But back to galettes. Guess what the Brits call them? Pudding stones. Why? Because the Brits are simply obsessed with pudding. They use the word pudding for everything. Pudding wines equals to sweet wines. A pudding time equals to a great or lucky time. And get this, in the pudding club means to be pregnant. But this video is not about puddings or the Brits, so let's move on. Another gravel soils that deserves a shout out would be Gimlet gravels in Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. These gravels, which are mixed with silt and sand, are deposited by a river, making them alluvial soils as well. Ooh, how fancy. Their excellent drainage and heat retention makes them ideal homes for Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon, resulting in full-bodied wines bursting with ripe aromas and flavors. Finally, we can't forget Graves in Bordeaux, which, as its name suggests, is simply full of gravelly goodness. These soils, consisting of gravel, sand, and clay, are like mineral-packed superheroes, giving the wines produced there a distinct minerality that is simply irresistible. It's not a wonder that the region is home to some of the most prestigious and expensive wines in the world. These are primarily red wines made from the wine world's power duo siblings, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. But as with everything good, there are some downsides to gravel soils, including low fertility, which requires careful management, and potential erosion on steep slopes. Let's talk about slate. No, not the writing tablet from back in the ancient days. We're talking about the metamorphic rocks, which are commonly found in vineyards in Germany and Portugal. Imagine you're hiking through the Mosel or Douro Valley, and you suddenly come across a steep vineyard. As you scramble up the rocky terrain, you suddenly realize that you're surrounded by slate, a metamorphic rock that's a favorite among the grapevines. Why, you ask? because slate is a superstar when it comes to absorbing heat and draining water, making it perfect for growing Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and Touriga National. Plus, it adds a unique minerality to the final wine, which is enjoyed by wine enthusiasts all around the world. But let's be real, cultivating vines in slate is no walk through the park. The ultra-steep slopes make mechanized harvesting impossible, and the rocky terrain can be a real pain in the neck. In the Mosel, blue-grey slate dominates, providing excellent drainage and heat retention. Perfect for ripening Riesling grapes, which cling onto the wooden poles for dear life on some of the steepest vineyard slopes that would even scare Spider-Man. The result? Wines which are characterized by the dancing acidity and minerality. In Priorat, Spain, you'll find the reddish black Licorella soils, made up primarily of slate and schist with tiny mica quartz particles. The steep slopes of Priorat are perfect for Garnacha and Carinina, producing wines which are super tannic and full-bodied. And of course, we can't forget about the Douro Valley with its steep vineyards planted on schist and slate soils. In the Sima-Corgo sub-region, slate contributes to the structure and complexities of port wines. First up, we've got limestone soils, which are simply slaying it in Champagne, Burgundy, and the Loire. These soils are rich in calcium, which means they can produce some seriously high pedigree grapes with good acidity. These soils can also be shallow and prone to erosion. Grapes like Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Chenin Blanc really know how to work it in these soils. Now let's take a look at Tuffeau, which is a limestone that's found in the Loire that's as soft and porous as your favorite pajama pants. It's easy to dig, making it a popular choice for building wine cellars and buildings in the region. Tuffeau soils also have great drainage and are loaded with calcium, so they can lead to some seriously good grapes with punchy acidity. This is the happy home of Chenin Blanc, Cabernet Franc, and Sauvignon Blanc. Now it's time to head over to Chablis in Burgundy and Pouilly-Fumé in the Loire for some Kimmeridgian marl action. This soil is named after an English town and is comprised primarily of fossilized shells. The oyster shells give the wines a distinct mineral taste, and it's a real crowd pleaser with Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc lovers. These soils are so rich in marine sediments that it's like drinking wine from the bottom of the ocean floor. Imagine having oysters every day of the week. My dream come true. Burgundy, we're back. This time, we're talking about Cretaceous limestone, named after the geological period. These soils are rich in clay and chalk, which help to keep water and nutrients locked in, leading to some seriously amazing quality grapes. It's the perfect match for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, producing grapes with acidity that will make your taste buds dance. And last but not least, we've got Tortonian limestone, which is found in the Piedmont region of Italy. This stuff is made up of marl, which is a fancy way of saying clay-rich limestone. It's got a ton of calcium, which can lead to some seriously acidic wines. And this is home to the great Nebbiolos, the sole heir to Barolos and Barbarescos. It's time to talk clay. No, not the sort that you use to style your hair. First up, we've got Pomerol Blue Clay, which sounds like it's a new shade of hair dye, but it's actually the soil that makes Merlot flourish on Bordeaux's right bank. This blue-hued soil is rich in manganese and iron. With its help, Merlot grapes produces wines that are rich, opulent, velvety, and simply packed full of flavors. Next up is Terra Rossa, or as the Italians say, red earth. This type of clay is found in regions such as Italy's Puglia, Spain's Castilla-La Mancha, and Coonawarra in Australia. This soil is so rich in nutrients and so perfect for growing Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah grapes in Coonawarra that we're simply wondering if this could be wine's fountain of youth. Wines produced from these grapes are full-bodied, tannic, and packed with flavors of blackberries, blackcurrants, and eucalyptus. Last but not least, we're heading over to Willamette Valley, Oregon, where Loess is the new mutant of soils. This soil is the superhero version of Storm, perfect for growing Pinot Noirs, which produce wines that are delicate, nuanced, and filled with bright acidity. First things first, schist is a fancy name for some metamorphic rock that's found in some really cool places. We're talking about Priorat, Douro Valley, and Côte Rôtie's Côte Blonde of the Rhône Valley. Schist rocks are like the perfect paint. They're well draining and retain heat like nobody's business. And just like your dream partner, they can be somewhat difficult to cultivate. The steep slopes make mechanized harvesting a nightmare, but who needs machines when you've got wine stomping fluid? That's seriously how they used to do it in the Douro, especially for port wines, and they called them le garish. As you may recall, we've already touched on Priorat and Douro Valley and their slate soils. So let's move on to Côte Blonde and Côte Rôtie. The mica and granite-based schist soils are like the best tinder profile that you could ever find for Syrah grapes. As the result, powerful, floral, and spicy wines with a distinct smokiness and minerality. These soils drain like champions and warm up faster than a Ferrari engine, making it ideal for cooler regions. They can be a bit low on nutrients and prone to erosion. Let's speak about the sandy loam soils of Bordeaux. They produce wines that are so elegant and refined, you'll feel like royalty. The soil's ability to prevent water retention means that the grapes don't get overtly cozy and become overripe, resulting in tannins that are as delicate as a ballerina's pirouette. Our next destination is the Swartland region of South Africa, where granitic sand soils steal the show. Syrah grapes are the belle of the ball here. The resulting wines are spicy, earthy, with a distinct minerality that will have you cheering for granitic sand soils. Last but not least, we've finally arrived in Napa's sandy loam soils, where Cabernet Sauvignon is the king. This soil is like the Goldilocks of the wine world. Not too wet and not too dry, but just perfect, as Cabernet Sauvignon would like it. It can hold on to some nutrients like a squirrel hiding nuts for winter, making sure that the grapes grow up strong and healthy. This sandy loamy soil is a mixture of sand, clay, and silt, which is pretty much everything that a grape needs to become the ultimate wine. Bold, tannic, and full of flavors. Granite soils, like a picky eater, can be quite mineral rich, but low in nutrients compared to other soil types. This is because granite is made from the slow cooling and solidification of magma or lava, which is like deciding what to eat with a bunch of indecisive friends. They're highly prized for their mineral character and unique flavors that can vary from region to region. These soils are common in the French region of Beaujolais, as well as certain parts of Spain and Portugal, where they can help ripen grapes thanks to their great heat retention and water draining properties. Next up are the silex soils of the Loire, which is like the anticipation on your first date. Nerve-wracking, exhilarating, and full of potential. Comprised of flint, clay, and limestone with granite bedrock underneath, these soils are like the perfect balance of moisture and drainage that set the stage for Sauvignon Blanc grapes to flourish. Wines produced from these soils are like that unforgettable first kiss, full of flavors, complexity, and that lingering excitement. With a distinct mineral character and flavors of green apples and citrus, they're like the moment when everything just clicks. So whether you're sipping on a glass of Sauvignon Blanc or leaning in for that first kiss, remember that anticipation is part of the fun. You never know what kind of magic might happen. In Stellenbosch, South Africa, the decomposed granite soils are the real MVPs. Formed from weathered granite, they're like the reliable friend that always shows up when you need them the most. Here, Chenin Blanc rules, where the soils contribute to their distinct minerality and bright acidity with aromas and flavors of citrus and tropical notes. And finally, porphyritic granite soils, which are like that one friend who's always the life of the party. These are composed of large crystals of feldspar and quartz embedded in a matrix of smaller crystals. These soils are well draining and provide good water retention, perfect for growing Shiraz, which is a primary grape of the Barossa Valley. The soils impart a distinct minerality and spiciness to the wines, coupled with black fruit and pepper notes, which set them apart from the rest. Other grapes that serve as Shiraz's sidekick here are the G&M to GSM, Grenache and Mourvedre. Volcanic soils are like the rebel rock stars of the wine world, giving rise to some of the most distinctive and expressive wines on the planet. But they can also be a bit of a diva, presenting challenges for winemakers who have to navigate through their finicky nature. Take the Canary Islands, Sicily, and Etna region of Italy, for example. These bad boys are notorious for their volcanic soils, which are rich in minerals and well-draining, making them a hotbed for high-quality grapes with great acidity. But let's be real, cultivating these soils are like trying to tame a wild beast, with erosion and nutrient deficiencies constantly lurking around the corner. Nonetheless, varietals such as Nerello Mascalis, Lista Negro, and Caricante simply thrive in the steamy hotbeds. Now let's head over to the pumice ashy soils of Santorini, better known for weddings in their blue-roofed white buildings. Here, the vines have to deal with porous, lightweight volcanic rocks, plus winds that could blow them all the way to Timbuktu and back. To survive these harsh elements, the vines are trained low on the ground, almost like they're in some Greek version of the downward dog position. They're crouching in baskets that are known as coulora. They're like the clingy stalker ex that simply won't let go. Think Glenn Close from Fatal Attraction from back in the day, or Stephen King's Misery. The vines wrap themselves tightly around the grapes, refusing to let anything come between them. Now let's talk about the grapes themselves. They have names that sound like they're from some Tolkien epic. We're talking Assyrtiko, Mavrotragano, and Mandalaria. And don't even get me started on how to pronounce them. It's like trying to speak in parcel tongue. The pride and joy of Santorini simply has to be the world-renowned sweet wines known as Vinsantos. And no, they're not to be confused with Italian sweet wines called Vinsantos as well, but spelt with a space between the Vin and Santo, and translates loosely into holy wine. And if you're curious about the different types of sweet wines and what makes some of them extra special, well, do check out my playlist, Sugar Rush Hour, which I'll leave a link to up here. For those of you who are full-bodied red wine lovers, we're heading over to Columbia Valley, Washington. Here, the basalt salt reigns supreme. High in iron, magnesium, and other minerals, these soils produce wines with bold flavors of dark fruit, earthiness, and spiciness. Cabernet Sauvignon is the star performer here, so don't be surprised if you find yourself head-banging with a glass of this powerful red in hand. But the real rock gods of volcanic soils lies in the tough soils of Mount Etna. They produce some of the most complex, nuanced, and downright delicious wines on the entire planet. The reds from Nerello Mascalis and Nerello Cappuccio are fruity symphonies full of spice and earthiness. These soils are formed by the flotsam and jetsam of sediments deposited by rivers and streams. Whilst they can be fertile and full of nutrients, they can also be a drama queen, prone to flooding and erosion. But when it comes to wines, these soils are the real deal, producing top-notch Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Sauvignon Blancs. Alluvial soils can produce wines with explosive aromas and flavors, and each region has its own twists. As an example, Rutherford dust in Napa is like the gold in the riverbed, a mixture of gravel, sand, and loam that's high in iron. It creates Cabernet Sauvignons with a dusty, almost rust-like character that will definitely impress. And that's actually how it got its name. In New Zealand's Waipara Valley, Pinot Noir is the belle of the alluvial ball. The region's mixture of gravel, sand, and loam produces Pinot Noirs with bright fruit characters and soft, silky textures that are smoother than a river stone. Down in Chile's Colchagua Valley, alluvial soils are like the spicy Latin lava, a mixture of clay and sand that is perfect for growing Carmenere, which was once mistaken for Merlot. These wines have a unique herbal and spicy character that will definitely ignite your taste buds. Did you know that Merlot, Carmenere, and Cabernet Sauvignon are all half-siblings from the legendary Carmenet family? If you'd like a humanized, eclectic, drama-filled version of the Carmenets, be sure to check out my video, which I'll leave a link to up here. Up next are the nice soils, which are pretty much the maestros of the Wachau region of Austria. Yes, that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. Almost like a reminder for us to be kind and nice to each other. So be nice to me and hit that like button. Found in the steep slopes, these soils are a force to be reckoned with, but oh so perfect for growing spicy Grüne Veltliners and Rieslings. They're great for drainage, rich in minerals, and retain heat like a champ, but they're as hard as rocks and may require some amendments to make them more fertile. The end result? Complex and mineral-rich wines that simply scream, "I was born in nice soils." And if you're looking at trying some nice wines from somewhere else other than Austria, look no further than Côte-Rôtie and the Rhône. Nice soils are found in the northern Rhône Valley, where they're composed of decomposed granite that have undergone a metamorphic process to form gneiss. Syrah is the dominant grape variety, producing big, bad, bold wines that are spicy, black fruit driven, and full of minerality that will surely leave you speechless. Grey wacky soils are like the Marge to the Homer grapevines in the viticulture world. Just like how Marge keeps the Simpson family running smoothly behind the scenes, these soils are often overlooked but are crucial to the success of the vines. With a special blend of sand, silt, and clay, these soils have the ability to provide excellent water drainage and water retention properties. This allows the vines to dig deep to gain all the nutrients and minerals that they need while still staying hydrated. They are like the secret ingredient that adds that depth and complexity to the final wine. In New Zealand's Marlborough region, grey wacky soils are king. The resulting Sauvignon Blancs are legendary for their zesty acidity, bright fruit flavors, and unique herbaceous and mineral notes. To sum everything up, the choice of soils can make or break a wine, and the different types of soils can affect the wine's tannins, acidity, and flavors. Wines grown in limestone soils have a tendency to be super acidic, whilst those grown in sandy soils tend to be ultra fruity. And whilst the impact of soils in winemaking is huge, so are other factors such as weather, microclimates, slope, and aspect. And there you have it. We hope you enjoyed learning about the dirty secrets of wine soils as much as we had sharing it. When it comes to wines, the soils can be as important as the grapes themselves. Whether you're dealing with crappy soils or moisture-holding clay, there's a vineyard out there that's somehow making it work. It's like the saying goes, when life gives you crappy soils, make great wine. Do hit that like button and leave me a comment or two if you had a soil-tastic time with me, and be sure to share this video with anyone and everyone who needs a lesson or two in soils. Until next Saturday, here's to amazing health.